Welcome to Pucked Up Hockey Moms, the landing space for moms of all ages, shapes, and sizes. And we won't hate it if the non-mom joins either. We just hope your ears are as unfiltered as our mouths, and you're as passionate about hockey as we are. It's time to get offside, ladies, and no whistles are being blown here. I'm your host, Amanda.
And I'm Brittany.
And on today's episode, we have with us Ashley, a goalie mom who is also from the island and very involved in her hockey community. Welcome, Ashley.
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
We're so excited that you accepted. First off, it's great to officially meet you. Britt here has been telling me about you for a while, and I know she has seen you at various rinks on the island, so guaranteed our paths have crossed too. We just haven't actually met face to face. So that led me to following you as well, and I love that you have a whole I don't give a fuck attitude, which definitely jives with mine, and that you're a hockey mom. That's a win. Though I do feel they go hand in hand, so that's even better. And so I'm glad you decided to come on the show.
Yeah. I think when you're a goalie mom, you have to not give any fucks, zero fucks, because you can't care when you're a goalie mom. You have to, be able to take it on the chin and hand it out the same way.
Yeah. I mean, like hockey moms don't give a fuck, but then there's like next level goalie moms. It's like negative gives the fucks, you know?
Like I've collected all of my fucks, and when I find them, I like collect some other people's fucks too. I keep them all to myself.
Yeah. Great idea.
That's awesome.
So I have been following you on TikTok for a very long time. I've definitely seen you at a few of the arenas around town, and my social anxiety will not allow me to come say hi. The first time I actually recognized you at the arena was I had seen a TikTok video where you bought that green Lululemon puffer coat, and then I was watching my nephew's game, actually, and I seen a lady with blonde hair in this green puffer coat, and I said to my partner, I'm like, I think that's the lady I follow on TikTok.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I love your videos. I love your content. I love, again, your same I don't give a fuck attitude.
Oh, thank you.
And clapping back at those like hate comments that you get from people sometimes. Like,
yeah, I get a few of those.
Yeah, I like those videos where you respond back to them. And
I feel like for longevity on the internet, you have to be able to let it roll off your shoulder.
Yeah.
Is it bad that I'm really excited to get hate comments so that I can? I feel like I'm excited for that.
Yeah, the only thing is that you get the hate comments and then you make a video and then the internet says that you're bullying somebody. And you're like, hold up, they started it. I just matched energy. And that drives me nuts because I will match energy. But I'm not the instigator. There's no penalty coming my way. This is not fair.
No, zero penalties here, please. This is matching energy is 100% something I do for sure.
Totally, right? Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Ashley, can you tell us a little bit more about you other than our quick intro before we get started?
Yeah, so I am, am I middle-aged? I'm 42. Middle-aged mom. I've got 2 kids, a daughter that is 10 and a son that is 12. My daughter tried hockey, didn't love it at all. So she actually is in the world of martial arts and karate. And my son is going into his second year at U13 and he plays rep. And then there's that guy that I sleep next to every night that drives us everywhere that we need to go. I've been married to my husband for, I should know this. 15 years, I think. We've been together about 20 years. So that's a little bit about me. Just a regular mom, everyday mom. Loses her shit over the laundry being left in the living room and nobody knowing how to put it in their dressers. Just your average mom stuff. Yeah. I have driven home at 6 a.m. well above the speed limit to pick up whatever hockey gear was left in the garage. Just a normal mom.
Yeah, that seems pretty average for a hockey mom. Absolutely. Yeah. When the rest of the moms are still sleeping, if they're not in hockey.
And then you get the look from the child as if it was your fault that you forgot their gear. And it's like, nope.
Yeah. Sorry, kid. Like you could be responsible for one thing in your life.
Yeah, exactly.
My kids learned pretty fast not to make that look at me.
Yeah.
So
good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Fortunately, they fear me more than their father, so it's a win for me.
Yeah, that's our situation too. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go back to the beginning of your hockey journey. How did your family get started in hockey? Did you or your husband play, or was it just your son? Like, let's go.
Yeah. So my husband, I grew up in a hockey family. family. That being said, I'm one of 3 girls, and we were never put in hockey, but we watched a ton of it. My dad was really big into hockey, so I spent a lot of time in the rink running around watching him play hockey. In fact, I was narrowly born at a hockey rink. My mom went into labor with me. At 1 o'clock in the morning, my dad had ice, and I was almost born in the hockey rink. But so when we had my son, I was like, okay, are we going to put him in skating lessons? And he did the skating lessons. And at the other end of the hallway, the other end of the ice, there was kids doing like how they do like the prep for hockey skating. And he looked at that and he wanted to do it. So we were like, cool. So we signed him up for it. He did 2 lessons and he refused to get back on the ice. So we thought that was the end of his hockey career. And so that would have been like right before U7. Mm-hmm. So he didn't do skating anymore. He didn't play U7. We missed the first year. And then he played a lot at home, just like mini sticks on the floor with my husband. We realized quite quickly that he loved being a goalie. So he wanted to do it again. So we signed him back up thinking, well, this will be interesting. And then he took to it. And then I guess his second year in hockey, because it was a COVID year, we didn't play games. During practices and stuff, he would always volunteer to be the goalie. And so he got more and more experience being the goalie. And then he just was like absolutely hooked and loved hockey, so long as he didn't have to come out of the crease. Yeah.
That's a similar story when you talk to lots of goalie moms. Like their kid, they love the game, but they don't want to be in the game. They just want to be that last line of defense kind of.
Yeah, I feel like the kids you either have 2 situations. I think you either have the situation where the kids like didn't have anybody else on the team and this kid kind of liked being the goalie and they get stuck being the goalie, or you have the kids that like right out of the gates, they knew that they wanted to be a goalie and, you did everything you possibly could to not get them to be a goalie. And then the association's like, hey, here's some gear. Like, do you want to try this on? And the coaches are all like trying to butter you up. And then the next thing you know, you're a goalie parent. So that was us.
Exactly. I remember our first year, like novice wise, they made everyone had to do at least like 1 game or whatever of it. And my kids cried during that one and I was okay with it.
Yeah. I look at those parents and I'm like, oh, you guys, you got so lucky. My kid is the one that's sitting in the change room, like bouncing up and down on the bench, just waiting for the coach to be like, okay, well, if you don't want to, then he turns and looks at my kid and he's, I'll do it. So I actually blame my dad a lot for this because as much as he wanted him to be a player because my dad was a defenseman, my husband, my dad, and my son went over to Vancouver to watch a Canucks game, Canucks versus New Jersey Devils. I would like to say, and I was told by my husband, we are not Canucks fans. We are New Jersey Devils fans.
Absolutely.
We don't want to be labeled like that. So they are on the way back.
Anybody but the Canucks in my house. We're anybody but the Canucks fans if we're at a Canucks game. Yeah,
exactly. So they were on the way to the ferry, stopped at Pro Hockey Life, and my dad happened to see a goalie mask. And my dad's pretty, it's pretty important to him that kids wear the appropriate safety gear when playing hockey. Yeah. And so he bought my son the goalie mask. And I remember him coming home and he was just beaming when he walked through that door. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm screwed at this point. So now you're a goalie. And I was like, that was the nail in the coffin. Yeah, he's a goalie. So, and since then I've been paying exorbitant costs for goalie gear.
No, thank you. My oldest cried the first time he played, and then my youngest started in U11, so there was already like a set goalie, so he never had to go through the trying it because that wasn't going to happen. As somebody who is on the exec in my association, every time I see a young kid want to play goal, I'm like excited about it because we need the goalies. But then like the mom side of me is like, oh, do I want to encourage this? And I look at that mom and she's like, got a smile on her face watching her kid. And I'm like, you have no idea what is about to rain down on you. You're like, you have no clue. So then I always feel a little bit guilty, but we need goalies.
Yeah. You have no clue what is about to happen to your life.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. You thought you had anxiety before? Not like a goalie mom.
Yeah. The goalie parents are always sitting at the end of the rinks by themselves. Or
I have like 2 friends that will stand next to me and they know that I should not be held accountable for anything that comes out of my mouth when my son is on the ice. I'm like, I'm 2 different moms. When my kid's on the bench that day, I'm sitting with everybody in the stands. We are talking about everything. I am the nicest, friendliest version of myself. And then when my kid's on the ice, stay the hell away from me because I am for sure swearing about your kid. Like, I am a horrible human being when my kid is on the ice.
Do you have like the shot counter and everything too?
Oh, the clicker? I have the clicker. Yes. I do. And you know what pisses me off is it's never right. It's
No.
never right on the board. So
Never.
my kid gets peppered with 3 shots in a row. Just because he saves all of those doesn't mean that's one shot. It's one event.
Yeah.
But there
Yeah.
were 3 shots that were taken at him. We click it 3 times, people. This is not hard. This is not hard.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Either click it or don't even show them because you're just being irrational.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I do not want that shot count up on the clock if you can't maintain a correct shot count, because that just
You need a
drives me
goalie
nuts.
parent in the box for that, or
100%.
it's not happening.
Yes, but the only problem about having a goalie parent in the box is we are not paying attention to what we're supposed to
No.
be doing in the box. We're watching the game.
They
So,
should just rotate it that if you have 2 goalies, the other goalie parent should be in the
That's a
box.
great idea.
totally. I do that sometimes, actually. I will say to the
Yeah.
other goalie mom, is your kid playing, or do you know if my kid's playing, or what, so that we can prepare for who gets to participate and who has to volunteer. Yeah.
Yeah, moms come up with the best ideas.
We do. In fact, we have this like running joke, the other goalie mom and I right now, that the key to a successful team would be the coaching staff letting the goalie moms coach the first practice. Just let us out there. We just want them for like an hour to 2 hours at the beginning of the season, and we will teach them how to back check. We will teach them how to clear a fucking puck hard up the boards. Like, I swear to you, the goalie moms are the key to successful coaching. If you just put us out there, like, we would get it done.
I kind of agree with that one right there. Because a lot of stuff needs to happen in that neutral zone.
Yep.
And it's not, because I don't even know why it's happening in our like defensive zone. Why is it in front of our goalie right now? Y'all should have stopped it.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
I have both defensive players, and my kids have always been friends with the goalies.
Yeah.
Right? And they're always the ones that are trying to protect their goalies, try to beat up the other players or cross-check them and put them in front of the net and stuff, like to get the forwards away from their goalie. Do not touch my goalie, right? And so I appreciate that. But why is it there?
Yeah.
Why is it even near the net? It shouldn't be near the net. Get it away from the net.
Yeah.
Those
Other
are my
players have failed their positions.
yeah.
They have failed.
Those are my favorite relationships, the ones between the like spicy defensemen and the goalies. Because like my kid's a big kid. He can handle himself in the crease, but there is nothing better than a tiny little D-man that is like a firecracker. I don't care how big my kid is. That spicy little D-man is taking the forward out. Like, it's happening. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, my son's goalie for his team this year with skates on is like 7 feet tall.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
And when I like to call it the frog splash, but because when he jumps like on the puck, it literally is so big.
Yeah.
It looks like a frog splash to cover the puck, but he's massive. But yeah, my kid's always still trying to clear that puck and defend, like protect his 7-foot goalie. Like,
yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Good for him. Yeah. Cool.
I know.
So being a hockey parent is busy, and a lot, we all know that, but being a goalie parent is next level. So other than the costing gear, which you mentioned and we all know is exorbitant, what would you say is the biggest challenge for having a forward or defensive player and a goalie?
I would say that I've always struggled with the mental load that my child carries for the team. I feel like it's hard because nobody knows what it's like for them on the ice other than another goalie partner. So there have been a few times where he's been the only goalie on a team just because we haven't had 2 goalies. And that is so hard for them. Like, to not have anyone else understand and feel how you are feeling is really difficult. And especially if you don't have anybody in the coaching staff that's ever been a goalie, like they just get it. Like, it's just such a different position than everything else. And so I feel like that is the biggest hurdle for us so far. And my son is only second year U13 now. So we're just kind of getting into that, like feeling sort of like not the guilt, but like feeling the weight of the team when somebody scores. Before that, he was very like, meh, whatever, it's just, I'm having fun. But now it's getting a little bit more serious. And so the weight that he bears because of that, that's the biggest struggle, I would say. And then second to that, just having access to the training. Because when you think about it, like every day that those kids are on the ice, they're learning from their coaches how to be better at their position. But if a goalie does not have someone on the ice that's correcting what they're doing, if they're doing something wrong, they're essentially reinforcing a bad habit until the next time they get goalie training. Exactly. So they could be doing something and, going down in the wrong way or, not staying tight to the post in a certain way. And they're essentially reinforcing that for, a week or 2 weeks until they get their next goalie training and someone says, oh, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. So I would say that is the second biggest issue, is that sort of access to the training that they need.
Yeah, that makes sense. It doesn't seem fair that they don't get the same like on ice training time as the rest of the positions. And they have one of the most important jobs on the ice.
Totally. Totally. And you can kind of understand that. And I think that for me, I see it in the younger teams that the coaches don't really understand that impact. But then as you kind of get to like U15 and U18, you all of a sudden see that sort of something must click for the coaches at that point in time, and they realize it and they start investing some team money into their goalies.
Yeah.
And then you can see the impacts of that. But I would say it's definitely like sort of at the U13, U11 level. It's not recognized as much how important it is. So I spend a lot of time advocating for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, it's almost like Hockey Canada or other governing bodies or whatnot need to put that as more of a grassroots development where It's just like, okay, these are your stages, but you also need to have like stages to improve goalie development. Yeah, you might not pick your position until a certain age, but it is very important that they have certain amount of development time, like at least once a week. Because like you said, you're just reinforcing bad habits, and kids need correction in the moment. Because if they don't have correction in the moment, they don't notice, right? And that's why it's important to have bench staff like coaches, assistant coaches and stuff that are correcting kids in a play on the ice, and rather than just in the dressing room after, because that play's gone. They've already forgotten. There are 20 different plays in and they don't remember that one. So when you have good coaches and coaching staff that quietly be like, hey, here you should have done this and here you should have done that. And I really like when you did this one, but if you just do it a little bit more here, those in the moment corrections really help reinforce positive actions and then help correct negative actions. And that's just, their brains are developing still and they need that.
Totally. It's the same thing for like in a game. When you think about it, a player makes a play and they come off the ice and they sit on the bench and, the coaches go over them and they either say like, you did that great or you didn't do that great. When you think about it for a goalie, he goes the entire game. Sometimes when the whistle blows, they'll go over. And if I've seen it, an entire game where no coaches even talk to him or tell him anything he's done. So in the end of the game, he comes off the ice and, my husband and I are trying not to do you should have done this or you should have done that. If nobody knows what he should be doing, and we as the hockey parents have learned what he should be doing. Yeah. My husband is very invested in understanding goalie development. Yeah, and so he will start talking with him later on in the day. And the poor kid's like, what? I don't remember that goal. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, to his credit, my son has raging ADHD. And so he has a hard enough time remembering like 3 minutes ago. So it's actually worked kind of well for him being a goalie. He forgets the goals quite quickly. And he'll be like, I don't know, that was so-and-so's fault. He'll blame somebody else and then forget about it. We're on to the next goal. But at the same time, it's hard because then you have to be like, okay, no, remember when this happened or remember when that was happening, and then try to give him some support or direction on that. So yeah, it's just it's an entirely different position than players.
Yeah, it totally is.
For sure. So some kids take every goal against them, like no matter whether they played defense or forward or goalie. But goalies do have that different mindset and skill set. So you touched on it a little bit there, but how does your son handle wins and losses? And do you guys have to really work on any mental health strategies with him to help with that?
Yeah, so I would like to say that my kid really owns the goals when they go in, but that'd be a lie. I'm going to tell you. So one of the fabulous things about him, again, like I said before, is his ADHD, but it's also his ability to point out how everyone else failed in order for that goal to get to him. So you'll say like, buddy, like you went down pretty easy on that one, or you were pretty, you weren't tight to your post. And he'll be like, yeah, but did you see that so-and-so didn't have their check? And did you see that, nobody skated hard for back check? And he will run through the list of things that everyone else did wrong before it got to him.
He's
not wrong, but we are working on humility. And so our new role is, instead of pointing out the things he did wrong, we'll do, what was your favorite save? And then what's one goal you want back? And sort of one goal you want back is a way for him to articulate that, maybe there's something I could have done different, as opposed to being like, you did this wrong, or you should have been here, or you should have been there. And then it sort of allows for him to sort of analyze his play in the game without it being, this is what you did wrong. Yeah. So that's kind of been our strategy and attempt to help support him in his goals.
Does your team record in games?
So the team we were on last year did. This team hasn't. Okay. But my son loves it when we record him. So I try to record him, but funny enough, actually I don't actually have the video posted on social media, but there's a video. So the problem is I can't record them because I record it and all you hear in the background is, oh shit, fuck, oh God damn it. And I'm like swearing and calling all of these defensemen horrible names. And then like we rewatch it on mute because you can't hear what Mummy's saying because that's like wildly inappropriate.
So my whole YouTube channel is my whole YouTube channel for our team. I did say I would record it. Yeah. Well, I asked who would record the games and nobody volunteered. So I invested in all the equipment. And then I quickly pointed out that I'm the loudest mom on the team. So they will all be silent.
Yeah. It's hard though, because it doesn't give the same effect when you can hear things going on. But at the same time, like no one can hear that.
I'm not fit for human consumption during a game.
100%.
And
I'm
if
there.
they want to hear the game, they can record it themselves.
Fair. Yeah.
So no one else wanted to record it.
Yep.
Amanda got herself a YouTube channel.
Yep.
And they're silent.
Yeah. No, that seems appropriate. That 100% seems appropriate. Yeah.
That was but I will say that the kids would message my daughter and be like, has your mom uploaded the video yet? Like after the game? If they weren't live because of Wi-Fi, because they wanted to rewatch the game after. They wanted to analyze. And then I would have parents thanking me because their kids would go over their own plays and see how they could do better.
Totally.
So their own little analysts. And I think that's pretty cool, actually, because they're finding ways to better themselves without us doing it for them.
Absolutely.
And they might catch stuff without us being hard on them.
Absolutely.
Right? And we all have different ways of correcting ourselves. And I do really love the way you ask about how you can get a goal back, because it does encourage them to find the positives and to critique themselves in a way that isn't negative. It is very constructive. So I think that's brilliant for sure.
Yeah. I have my moments every once in a while.
Well, you're welcome. You can pat yourself on the back. I can't reach you. Mental health is a big topic in our household as well, like not just in sports, but really for everything. Because recognizing the signs can be harder if you don't suffer from it yourself. Personally, I've suffered from anxiety my whole life. Whether or not I realized it until I was in my late 20s, early 30s is a whole different story. But there are a lot of resources. So if you have never come up with it in your personal life and then your kids are and you don't quite know what to do, I wanted to point out that there are a lot of resources out there. And I have some links in the show notes and as well as my website. But Alberta Hockey has some great mental health resources, which are catered towards sports. So they'll be in there as well. But there's just so many little ways we can help our kids and ourselves cope with daily stressors that can make a big difference in their sports. So I wanted to throw that little PSA in there because mental health is very important.
That's something that I'm focusing on this year, actually.
Yeah.
I really wanted to make sure that our kids, their mental health component is something that we address just as important as do their pads fit and all the other pieces, because it can be lonely and a lot of kids end up choosing not to continue on in the position because of the weight of the role. And so I think bringing awareness to it and making sure that people understand how heavy and how hard that can be for a kid, especially the 12, 13, when they're really impressionable and their coaches mean everything to them. Sometimes I think our coaches don't realize how impactful they are in our kids' lives. And there have been a handful of times where, I'll talk to Jack about something and he'll say, well, coach said this or coach said that. And you can tell that he's just hanging on every word he's saying and that it's super important to him. So I think, encouraging our coaches to understand that like a little bit of encouragement for them or pointing out what they've done right in a game it's just as important. Absolutely. And can go a long way to supporting them.
Absolutely. Now, I always say goalies are weird, but I mean it in like with love and in the best possible way, because I think normal is boring. So I would take a weird person over a normal person any day, because normal people are likely the psychopath. But anyway, I digress. Does your son have little quirks you notice or routines, rituals he has to do before every game?
Oh, yeah. So last night we had our wind-up party. Or not last night, I guess 2 nights ago, whenever it was. Anyways, had our wind-up party and my son got an award from his coach for being the weirdo on the team. I kid you not. He has a plaque hanging on his wall. He was so proud of it. He hung it up the second we got home that says that he's a weirdo. And it's not even wrong a little bit. He is 110% weird. Wears weird clothes to the rink. He has, I can't describe this in any other way, and this is wildly inappropriate, but he has a pimp jacket. You guys know what I'm talking about? Like a fuzzy. Yeah. So he's a bright green one that he found at H&M about 3 years ago. Yeah. It's getting small on him, but he loves to wear that to practice. Like
Does it have a hat too?
No, the hat that he's currently choosing to wear is quite literally the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen. It's like a knit toque, and being like, if you're listening to this from anywhere else in Canada, it's cold and there's snow on the ground and you're like, a toque makes sense. No. Not in Victoria. There are crocuses coming up right now. It was gorgeous and sunny today.
It's like 13.
Yeah. He wears this knit hat that like goes over his ears and like has braided ties that come down, and it's a New Jersey Devils hat, and it has like bits of like knit fluff coming up the top, so he looks like he's like some sort of like rooster thing going on. It's the most embarrassing hat. Wears that to every game. Yeah, he is. I do not take offense whatsoever to somebody suggesting that they're weird, because my son is the president of the weirdos.
But I always mean it with love.
Totally. They're quirky.
They're
You
just
have
quirky,
to be. You have to be that weird.
I've said it a million times. Like, you're voluntarily going in a net and people are shooting pucks at your body and it hits you in the head a ton. Like, my child has been hit in the head with a puck and came off. They're like doing, like they're doing the cartoon vibrating thing.
Totally. Yeah.
It's just a requirement to be quirky as a goalie.
It's funny. My son or my husband will be able to narrate how my son will be on the ice. Like, after he takes a hard shot or after there's a goal, he does this whole little thing where he skates a certain way around the net, and then he taps one side of the net with his stick, and then he taps the other side, and then he backs right up till his head hits the back, and then he scoots right forward, and it's like this whole little routine that he does. And then when the music comes on, he bounces and bops to the music. He loves the music being played.
I love that he dances.
Oh, he's a dancing goalie for sure. But so many weird things, like the socks. Oh my gosh. And combining the fact that he's a weird goalie with like sensory issues has literally driven me to the edge. Like, he has this thing with like, he'll only wear certain socks and his water bottle has to be tucked into his bag in a certain way. And if none of this happens, it's entirely my fault that they lose the game. Like, how dare I put the water bottle in the wrong spot? He also has this thing where he thinks his pads have feelings. And he's like, you have to respect his pads and they need their own space on the bench when he's getting dressed. You guys know some of the change rooms in Victoria are super small.
They're so tiny.
And the entire team is, Jack, put your pads on the ground. And they don't want to be on the ground.
They don't like it on the ground.
Yeah, they don't like it. No, so they have to sit next to him while they're getting ready. And they are an extension of him.
Yeah.
So that is an incredibly all-encompassing explanation to say he's weird.
That's amazing. I think I've seen some of the sock videos on TikTok.
Yeah.
Of you trying to find all these different brands and find the right brand that he liked.
It has pushed me to the damn near edge where I'm just like losing my ever-loving mind. Like, socks and me. Oh, yeah, we have beef. We have some serious beef. Yeah.
Too funny.
Yeah.
What has been your favorite part about hockey for your family so far?
Oh my goodness. The family that comes with hockey. So my husband and I were not super social people prior to joining hockey. We each had a few friends, but we weren't those people that like socialized very much. We were both very close with our families, and just the community and the family that we have with our friends from hockey has been unbelievably impactful in our lives. We have like this little group, and our kids all ended up on different teams now. Some of them are like have gone on to play in other leagues. Some of them, play on the house team. Some play Rep A, some play Rep B. But we've just kind of created this little group of friends that it's just been amazing, and it's been wonderful, and we get together all the time, and our kids are super tight, even though they're all now playing on different teams and doing different things. And I'm so grateful for them. In fact, I was talking to one of the moms the other night about how when this is all over and hockey is all done, we all need to go on some sort of vacation together, somewhere hot, a beach that we can lay on, just like do something on a Saturday that does not include standing in a rink, because we've gotten so close, and it's really amazing and really cool. And I love that came into our life because of hockey.
Yeah, I'd have to say the same. Yeah. The people that you meet, and not only do your kids make long-term, lifelong friends, but I think as parents you do as well.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
We all know there are people who volunteer and people who never volunteer.
Yep.
When it comes to sport. When did you start volunteering, and how long until that volunteering turned into being on the executive?
So volunteering, I would say for me, I didn't understand how it impacts your life when you have kids. So I've got like this 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and I'm like, I'm looking for a preschool, and I found a co-op preschool, and I'm like, oh, this looks fun, and I get to go and hang out. Biggest mistake of my goddamn life. Like, why would I do that? Why would I do that? So I went from co-op preschool to elementary school, and I was the PAC president, and you just can't get away from it. Like, every time I leave the house at 7:00 at night, my husband's like, do not volunteer for anything. Look me in the eye. Promise me you're not going to volunteer. And I leave, and I'm like, I will not volunteer. And then I get to whatever meeting it's for, either hockey or school or whatever, and my hand immediately shoots up when they're like, so we need somebody. And I even say to my girlfriend, I'm like, don't let me put my hand up. Like, I don't have the capacity for this. Don't let me put my hand up. And then the next thing you know, I'm roping her into something. So I don't know what my problem is. I've always just wanted to volunteer, mostly because I can do things way better than most other people. It's a superiority complex thing that's definitely happening.
You should I don't know. Tell me how you feel.
Yeah, right? Well, this is like a therapy session, isn't it?
Totally.
I do think that. Yeah, it's a little bit of OCD, but I say CDO because that's in alphabetical order. So
Yeah.
I feel like it needs to be that
As
way.
it should be.
Yeah, it should be. It just sounds better. No, I totally get it. But maybe your friends should invest in zip ties for you and
Right,
put them
yeah.
behind your back.
Yeah.
Or come up with some like furry handcuffs as a good talking point also.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I did good the first couple of years in hockey because we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
That was the only savings grace for us, is like my husband and I had no idea what we were doing in terms of playing hockey because neither of us have played, and or the position of goalie we didn't know we were talking about. But then my husband became the safety for our team, so he volunteered for that.
Yeah.
Which he actually volunteered as a way to be able to be in the rink during COVID because they were doing the whole like drop your kid off at the door, and I'm like, no. I need to know what's going on in there. I can't, do that. So then my husband volunteered to be the safety. So then he got to be in the rink to watch all the practices. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. I started helping doing a few volunteer things on the teams and stuff. And then, the next thing you know, they were like, hey, our goalie development coordinator is gone. Do you want to do that position? And I'm like, I can barely stand on skates. Like, do you understand that? And they were like, you're a warm body. Go for it. And then I threw myself into understanding what the goalie community at our association needed. And I thought, you know what? I'm actually just a loudmouth. And that's really all you need to be when you're a volunteer and advocate. You just need to be a loudmouth.
Yeah. You just need to be louder
stuff
than
done.
someone else. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, that was my foray into, volunteering for the executive positions. So here I am.
How has it been being part of the executive and helping with the development? Like, is it super time consuming? Are you getting a lot of input from other parents about what should or shouldn't be done? What does that role kind of look like?
Yeah. So remember how we talked about socks earlier? I hate parent involvement more than I hate socks. I hate parents' opinions more than I hate socks. And I hate this role more than I hate socks.
Okay.
Perfect answer.
Yeah. So I went in all gung-ho, like, I'm going to make a difference and I can do this and I'm going to help advocate, and I can, until you run into the parents that know everything.
And can do it better than you.
Yeah. But aren't volunteering to do it. That's for sure.
And have never volunteered in their life.
Never. Yeah. Nope.
Yeah.
But they have all the answers.
Yes.
So those parents, fuck around and find out. I've had a few conversations where it was one of those things where you're like, starting to type the email, and then you're like, this shouldn't be in writing. I'm going to call them instead. So then you call them, and then, there's less evidence. So I've had a few of those situations. I'm learning to be a little bit softer about it, because when parents are like U9 and going into U11 and they think their kids are going to play in the NHL.
Absolutely.
And you're
the
like,
first year full ice competitive hockey.
Yeah, they're all signing. All of them have to get home because they've got contracts they need to review because they're all going to play in the NHL next year. So those parents drive me nuts. Every time I get a message from like a team manager that's like, I got a U11 parent, I'm like, no, thank you. No, thank you. No, I'm done. Those ones drive me nuts. But I do think that, everybody wants the best for their kid, right? And everybody wants to do whatever it takes to give their kid all the opportunities that they need. And it's just about balancing expectation with resources. So I remind everybody, and I start the phone call off with, I'm a volunteer. And there have been more than one conversations I've had while trying to grocery shop and or waiting in the school pickup line or doing all the other mom things that I have to do in life. And I remind them of that first and foremost. And then I say, like, look, if I could give your kid all of the opportunities, I 100% would. But I don't have the resources for that, to be able to give that to everyone else's kid too. So you're not getting it. And then you just have to be firm and say, not today.
Well, that's the thing I noticed about volunteers. You'll have some people that are only going in it for their kid.
Totally.
So cool, good for you.
Yeah.
But it is harder to find people that are in it for the greater good of an association. And awesome when they do it, but they definitely can get beat down pretty quickly. And you are coming against parents that are like, well, my, or me. And you're like, okay, that's great. But again, big picture, we're trying to work on all the kids and not just one kid. And that is very hard. And I think a lot of people take volunteers for granted. And I volunteered for about every position possible. And I refuse now. Yeah. Because there was a definite mental breakdown on my end, like after running a novice jamboree previously on a team of people, but like it was a lot, and people are awful. Yeah. So they can be great. Totally. But they are also awful and selfish and spiteful human beings that don't realize you're just a person. Yeah. Trying to do your best for everyone. Yeah. And that somehow you ruin their lives. And
it's one of the things that I've struggled with too, is because my kid is a rep player and he plays on the rep A team typically. specifically, the concern around like, am I doing something for, his advancement versus anyone else's? And so I look at the parents who have kids on the exec and who have kids that are on the house team, and I'm like, maybe that's where it's at, because it's so much less competitive and no one's questioning your judgment, that maybe that's where it's at. Because that is something that I have to navigate and I have to be like careful about and make sure that, I am being objective about it and that I'm being fair and that I take my son out of the equation. And like, I do make sure that I take extra steps to ensure all of that. And if there's ever a kid that we have too many and, like we capped out at the practice, my kid's the first one that I pull out of the practice so that he doesn't go for that development. Or like when we do tryouts, I make sure that I'm like nowhere near them so that no one questions, what team my son ends up on. But it's definitely a balance, and it's a difficult line to walk sometimes.
Yeah, it sounds like another added layer of stress to the position, trying to make sure that you're not coming off as favoritism or anything like that.
Yeah, stress that I did not sign up for. But,
right?
I digress.
You don't anticipate that are going to happen, and you're like, oh, I was just trying to be helpful.
Yeah.
Should have sat on my hands.
Well, like the line that the execs always give, like, because you're always dragged in by a friend, right? Like your friend's always like, oh, it's only like, one meeting a week or one meeting a month and like maybe a couple hours a week. And then you get in there and you're like, this is bullshit. Like, no, it is not. Yeah, it's a full-time job.
Did you not want me to ever be your friend again? Because that was not cool.
You just sucked me in.
And you're a liar. Yeah. You're a liar.
Yeah, Michelle, if you're listening to this, I got sucked into the exec with you.
You're a liar, Michelle.
Yeah, Michelle.
I figured out towards the end of this hockey season that my 13-year-old loves to do the clock or the timesheet or the music or something like that. So I was like, next year, any of my volunteer shifts are all yours. And
that's amazing.
Because I selfishly just want to watch the game. I don't want to pay attention to a score sheet or stopping the clock at a certain time because I know I'd screw it up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So,
it gets stressful at like U13, U15 for the clock. But your daughter also filmed for me. Yes. So that I could scream and cheer without having to pay attention. Because I went from having a remote control one to, here's a shameless plug, Xbox Go Chameleon, which is like an AI, because I love AI. And it is awesome because it follows the kids and I don't have to use the remote control. And it has a scoreboard.
Oh, that's super cool. That's cool.
Yeah. But I did use your daughter to film some games for me because I was getting tired of filming all the games and not actually watching my children play.
Yeah, she thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah. Kids are very useful to do all the things we don't want to.
Why we had them, wasn't it?
Like my dishes, which is also another reason why I loved your handle. I was like, well, I don't even think I need to see a video. It says mommy doesn't do dishes and I don't do dishes.
Yeah. I've also stopped doing laundry because like, that's not a me problem, guys. Like do your laundry yourself.
I don't know if I started.
Good for you.
I press play on my laundry machine, and we've lived in this place now for over 4 years. I think they got new machines when we moved. I can't remember. I don't know. I looked at it and I kept pressing play. And I was like, why is this dryer not turning on? And then I looked at it and it says press hold to play. I'm like, oh, yeah. Also, on New Year's Eve, I tried to use the dishwasher and everyone was laughing at me, Brittany included, because I could not turn on my dishwasher.
Good for you. That's awesome.
And they couldn't understand why. And I was like, well, this is the first time I've used it.
That's so awesome.
I was not sure what that's like.
It was New Year, new me. I used it more soon.
I used mine 4 times in the last 3 days.
Yeah. I've stopped worrying about filling my dishwasher full of dishes, and now I'm just like, whatever. Like, if the kitchen is clean, I run the dishwasher, and you know what? There'll be a time in my life where water consumption is important, but right now it's not.
Yeah.
I gotta
just clean dishes is what's
I just
important.
need clean dishes. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's dive into your social media a little bit.
Yeah.
That's how we found you. Ironically, we live in the same area-ish.
Yeah.
What inspired you to start at Mommy Doesn't Do Dishes account, and how has that impacted your life?
Yeah, so I started it right near the end of COVID, and I'd actually been on Instagram, and I wasn't growing on Instagram at all. And at the time, I couldn't figure out why I wasn't growing, and now I look back and I'm like, well, obviously, bitch, you weren't like posting beige photos and like your perfect little life. You were having a existential crisis because COVID was happening and like melting down every day. So yeah,
like
Instagram,
yeah,
Instagram was definitely not the place for you. So I had a friend at the time who was like, you should try TikTok. And I had no idea what it was. Opened up TikTok, started doing a few videos. And then all of a sudden I like started getting followers. And I couldn't believe it. And I didn't really understand it. And everybody just kept being like, just post more about your real life, post more about your real life. And so I did. I started talking about like what it was like to raise a child. At the time, my son was going through his diagnosis for ADHD. And so I kind of talked about that a little bit. And I sort of talked about, like my husband works at a grocery store. And so what that was like for us during COVID and how stressful that was and just motherhood in general. And I think when I realized that it was sort of not missing, but there wasn't enough of it on these platforms, like just talking about real motherhood. And I'm not talking about those like moms who are pretending to be real and like have one load of laundry, like, sitting on it. Like, no, like I'm talking like I can't see the top of my dresser or my husband's dresser because there's clothes piled so fucking high. Like my baseboards are fuzzy. We don't stop the hallway fan because if we did, the fuzzy little monsters living on top of the fan would fall off and that would be a problem. Like I talked about like everything in real life. And then I showed up on the internet one day in a bathing suit. Like, I don't know what I was thinking that day, like whatever. But everyone was like, oh my gosh, like you're so brave. And then I realized that I had recently lost my aunt and losing her was really impactful in my life. I lost her right before COVID. And I realized that she was so young and she died of cancer that she didn't know she was going to have. And sort of going through all that made me realize how short life can be. And that's when I started to stop giving away all of my fucks. And I started just living in the body that I'm in and not punishing myself for not being in a certain body, but also not wanting to be in a different body. Like, do I love the fact that my stomach rolls over my jeans 3 times? No, not really. Like the fact that I unbuttoned my pants when I sat down, don't love it. Don't love it. I don't love that like my girls have gotten so big because of the extra weight that I've added on to me. Like that, all of those things, but it doesn't mean I need to hate my body and it doesn't need to mean that I don't want to try to like eventually lose some weight whenever I get off my ass and decide to do that. But it was just about being okay with who I am and stop trying to be something else and just like live in this moment and appreciate myself for who I am and the body that I have. And when I started sharing that on social media, then I really blew up. And I sort of like snowballed from there. Like more people wanted to hear that kind of narrative and be encouraged by that. And I just sort of ran with it. And yeah. That's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what drew me to your videos over and over again on TikTok was the bathing suit videos, the like I don't give a fuck, the Costco hauls, like that kind of stuff. Yeah. Whereas it seems like everything else you see on social media is so here's my perfectly organized pantry and I'm dressed to the nines taking my child to school in the morning. I don't look like that when I get out of bed and I don't put any effort into trying to look like that. So seeing somebody else that just lives that normal life is And I just actually watched the documentary with my daughter on Netflix about that Instagram girl who like totally fooled everybody.
Yes, I watched that one too.
For years. Yeah. And I was like, see, this is why social media is not always great because what you're seeing is not real. It's not real life.
Totally.
Some of it is like yourself.
Yeah.
But most of it's so curated that
Yeah,
so
absolutely. It's something that I worry about for my son being on social media because I know like he's young and impressionable and he'll come to me sometimes and say like, oh, I saw this. And I'm like, that's not real, right? And then we have to have those conversations about like everything you see and hear is not real. Like you have to use your critical thinking skills. So it does worry me a little bit for the next generation that they'll be able to do that because they're just being fed so much all the time on the internet and they think it's all real. But
they don't necessarily learn yet how to develop critical thinking skills. So as much as we're sitting here telling them they need to use these skills, they have nowhere that they need to use them because everything has changed. The school system has changed. The internet is overwhelming with all these different things flying at them. And we literally have to step by step teach them how to use common sense.
Totally.
Common sense is not normal. It's not something that's just inherently there. It's no longer common. It's just sense.
And to question something if it seems, like I think this generation especially is afraid to kind of go against and question that they'll just follow where that's
absolutely
going to lead down a bad road on social media.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. And we have to remember, these are the kids that have like left their hockey stick in the garage and walked right past it.
Oh, I know.
And we have had to drive back and get it. Like, you can't give them that much responsibility.
No.
Like,
no, you can.
But you need to be prepared to be disappointed.
Yes.
Low expectations.
I will say my son started, and it's a lot because when I was pregnant with my daughter, I was so huge and off 18 weeks early because of pain and stuff. So I put all of his snacks and everything at height level. And
nice.
He had to go get everything for himself and for me because I couldn't. So he was my little, and so, and also I hated watching cartoons that I felt made him dumber. So we watched A Baby Story. And he would ask me, are we pushing it out or is it cutting out today? And I
That's
would say
awesome.
things like, I don't know, it's a surprise. We just have to find out. So, but
awesome.
like he would help me with, so he would help with the dishwasher and stuff. And then when it came to kindergarten, he was not even there a month before he was not eating his lunch. And I remember the whole thing happened with me when I was a kid. And then I just didn't eat anything. So that's it. You're making your own lunch. So he made his own lunch from kindergarten on. And
Nice.
same thing when my daughter came to, he helped her make her lunch for like a month or so. And then she was making her lunch. So they've always made their own lunch. They've always done the dishes. And then they've learned to do laundry. So that's why I laugh about not doing laundry and dishes.
Yeah.
It's mostly because I've learned how to be super efficient with my children.
Nice.
But I've given them all that responsibility early on because I wanted them to be productive members of society and because it was easier for me. We've always been go, 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 go. So we've kind of done the whole, if you want us to take you to your friends, if you want us to go to all the extra sports stuff, we're a team.
Yeah.
And we can't do this if you don't help. So if you're not helping with all the stuff that needs to help in the house, then I don't have time to take you to your extra stuff.
Totally. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I still have 5 buckets of laundry on the laundry couch in the living room right now that have not been done because the only job I have to do is sort it.
Yeah.
But like, we all have stuff to do. We all have a task within the family. And that's just, instead of saying, here's chores, here's money for your chores, it's nope, we're a team. Everybody has a job on the team. And if you don't do your job, we all can't do it. So like when they play sports, if so-and-so is not, if the forwards aren't doing their job or the defense and the goalie aren't doing their job, then the team's going to lose.
Yeah,
so it's
absolutely.
the same for our family unit. If they're not doing it, then our family's going to lose the game of life.
Absolutely. That's a very similar narrative that we have with our kids too. That's absolutely the same thing. It's like everybody else has got to do it. My thing is always, I'll say to my kids, so sorry, did you want mommy to do that as well on top of the other things that I have to do? And sort of like almost sarcastically call them out for it. And then they have that moment where they think for a second and then they're like, oh yeah, no, okay.
Like,
but yeah, instead of being just like, I'm telling you to go do this, make them think about their actions and how they are impacting the other people in the family. And like you said, they're a team. And if they're not going to, play their part and do their role properly, then it's going to impact everybody. So
like they have to carry their gear and they have to pack their gear because if something's missing from the gear, it's not my fault. It's their fault.
Yeah.
And
totally.
I'm not driving home to get it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
so,
totally.
Okay, you can sit in the stands and watch.
My son actually had to wear sweatpants the other day because he forgot base layer.
Oh.
And for goalies, you have to have a piece of clothing on in between your leg pads and your body. You can't wear the short undergear and it has to exactly, no bare skin. And so my husband texted me and he's like, oh, this is going to go one of two ways. Either he's going to come out here and he's going to be like wound right up. And because he has sensory issues, that's where what I thought was going to happen. And I was like immediately like running around the house, like looking for the gear. And I was like, do you want me to drive it? And my husband's like, let's just see how this plays out. And the next thing you know, he's like, he's on the ice. And I'm like, what is he wearing? Like, what happened? And he's like, he's wearing his sweatpants. So he got off the ice and like on the drive home, my husband was like, so you wore your sweatpants out on the ice? And he's like, yeah, I forgot my base layer. And then he's like, so you didn't want to come talk to me? He's like, I didn't want to have to deal with it. So I just wore my sweatpants. And I was like, such a huge moment for us because for him to wear something that was uncomfortable is huge. Like it's super, super big and it shows like so much personal growth. And then also at the same time, the fact that the alternative to feeling uncomfortable for him was having to deal with his parents, and that was a bigger issue. I had to laugh at myself a little bit, and I was like, all right, okay, we could probably, wane that back a little bit because that was that impactful for him. But I was so proud of him. And then the next day he went to go on the ice or something like that. His gear was at the top of the stairs, and I was like, he ran down the stairs and started to pack his bag, and I'm like, hey, do you want this? And he's like, oh my god, yeah, I can't wear sweatpants again. So I went back up the stairs and grabbed it. But
that's awesome. But there's certain things that are different. Like he's got sensory issues. Absolutely. I would drive home if my child has sensory issues, I think.
I would begrudgingly do it, but I would not let him forget it. Like he would be doing things for me for the foreseeable future in order to,
They would not forget who got them their stuff.
Yeah. The last thing I say to him before I like kiss him goodnight at night would be, I did this for you. So he would like, that guilt would be firmly implanted in his brain.
That's awesome. Yeah. Mom guilt's real and I love it.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
I did see a post actually on TikTok. You mentioned something about your husband and you started a spring team.
We
Or your
did.
sons?
Yeah. We so I guess it was last spring, on the spring hockey team that we were on, we were at a hotel in Edmonton, and like any good hockey parent, my husband was drinking in the hallway with another parent.
Obviously.
And they stumbled back into the room at like 11 o'clock at night, having finished their beers, and he crawled into bed and he was like, "We're gonna start a spring hockey team." And I was like, "Yeah, sure you are. Put your CPAP on and go to sleep. Like, I don't want to talk to you." And he's like, "No, we're really gonna do it." I'm like, "Hey, good night." And then the next morning, over continental breakfast, the two of them were talking, my husband and his friend, and I was like, "What are you guys talking about?" And they're like, "Well, the spring team." And I was like, "Shit, this is gonna be a thing." And then we got home and I like hit my husband's friend's wife and I'm like, "Do you hear what they're talking about? Do you know that they think they can do this?" And she's like, "Yep." And I said, "Okay, well, let's just like you do with any 5-year-old, just let them think it's going to happen for a little while, and then they'll get over it." And they didn't. They just kept fucking talking about it. Then they designed a logo. Then they got a hat printed with the name on it. And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Because essentially this just like my husband, I adore him. Great man, not good with a computer. Like so not good with a computer. So all I could see in my future was all of the organization that I was going to need to do in order to make this happen. And sure enough, here I am with a new email address listed in my Gmails that I have to check regularly because I am organizing everything. But he is ecstatic, super excited. Never seen somebody so excited for anything. My son is thrilled about it. That's and awesome. We're actually, turns out we're really excited to do this. We've done spring 4 or 5 years now, I think. We've been on different teams, and we haven't had like bad experiences on any of our spring teams, but what it got to for us was the cost. We are not rich people. We are a paycheck to paycheck kind of people. We are eating leftovers the night before the paycheck comes in, and we are spending so much money on spring hockey that we were like, we could do this, and I think we might be able to do it cheaper if we just do it like an at cost thing. Yeah. So by this point in time, we knew enough people. My husband's friend is our head coach. We got a bunch of dads that all want to be on the ice. We managed to get enough players, and we're going for it. So we're an at-cost hockey team. We are publishing our budget and our costs to the rest of the team so everybody can see that this is not a money-making endeavor. And yeah, we got a few sponsors, so our team is now going to be able to have a few things that we weren't going to because we were very bare bones. We were like, we're going to charge the least amount of money possible to cover costs for ice and a jersey, and like that's all. But we got a few sponsors, so we're able to like have a few extra flashier things. Yeah, we're gonna see. It's been a wild ride learning. I've actually never been a team manager before. Managing a team has been a little interesting. Getting ice in this bloody city has been a bit of an issue, but I think we've secured all of it. I don't know. We'll see. We start our practices next week. I'm sure I'll have so much feedback from the parents that I will gladly accept.
Getting insurance is insane. So.
Yeah, that was expensive. That was a cost that we didn't have in our original budget. That ate into a little bit for sure. Yeah,
but, we just did an episode about another friend who started a spring team, but she started in January.
Oh!
And they came together. So.
Oh wow, good for her. Yeah. That's crazy. Good for her.
Yeah. When did you guys start yours?
I mean,
last spring hockey.
Yeah,
season.
The drunks did it like last April, May, and then I would say we started looking for ice in September. We had like a core group of kids that we knew we wanted on the team, and then we kind of just like added to it little bit by little bit. But I think we had our last player picked by the beginning of January, or sort of mid-January maybe. But we had connected with another mom who had managed a couple spring teams, and so she sort of gave us a little bit of advice and sort of like had dinner with her a few times, and she was like, "You need to do this, and this." So we kind of had an idea what we were doing a little bit, but still definitely stumbling through the process. But we're really excited about it. We picked our team based on the parents, so we didn't have tryouts because tryouts were last year when we were all like, "Hey, we'll meet you down in the parent room, and if you showed up, your kid's now playing on our team." That's how we rolled. So if you know to bring a Yeti to a tournament, you're on our team. Yeah.
Mom juice. Everybody needs their mom juice, guys.
Yeah. So we've got a wide range of skill on the team, but they're all the same parents. So that's how we built our team. A little unconventional, but
the kids are going to have the best time of their life.
That's
and the
our
parents
hope.
are going to have like a high school reunion type party, and that's what matters, isn't
exactly.
it?
Yeah. If we're all spending a ridiculous amount of money on hockey, then we should at least be having fun while we're doing it.
It's like your vacation, really.
It absolutely is. Like, I'm not going anywhere other than wherever the tournaments are this spring.
Yeah. That's so funny.
There's no money left in the budget.
No. No, there's nothing.
And stuff. Yeah.
And somebody's breaking a stick or their feet are growing inevitably. So that's taking up whatever little bit you had left.
I don't know if I've gotten through a single episode without someone saying broken a stick. It just makes me hurt. My son is 6'3", okay? They're really expensive.
Oh, yeah.
We were like at his playoffs where my husband's like, where is his stick? Why is he not using this one? And he has square toe, so they have to be ordered online.
Mm.
And I was like, I bet you he broke it and didn't want to tell you because we just replaced this one.
Oh.
And he's gone through 5 sticks since September. So, yeah, we sent him down to Idaho with 5 sticks. And this is very unfortunate. So, yeah. And now with all the online ordering and other U.S. American issues currently, I won't touch with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
He ordered some and they canceled it the next day saying they could no longer do it, which is so now we have to find another convenient way. And he's like, I'm just going to order 6. I'm like, are you?
Yeah. Ouch.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I hung up pretty quickly after that.
Yeah, no kidding. That worries me because my husband's a big guy too. Like, I'm 5'10", my husband's 6'3". I'm not going to have a small kid. My biggest fear, and my kid loves long pads, like tall pads. Yeah. So when they get to a certain size pads, just like shoes, like you have to special order them. My biggest fear is he's going to get that big that he's going to require special order pads. Yeah. And they're already expensive enough that like having special order pads, that's going to be.
Well, there's like this swap and shop one thing that's kind of out of like the US and Ontario, but like some guys get it from like the juniors and the pro level and they're way cheaper.
Nice.
I don't know the site. I wish I had it, but we've used it for many things. And my son has gotten like true skates for like half price.
Oh, nice.
For about 7 pairs of them. And it has been great because my daughter uses them after him dollars. So when you can get them for half off, it is very helpful. And then when you get 2 children out of that 1 pair of skates,
that's amazing.
It is a win.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. That's awesome.
I just want to know how you have time for all of this.
Oh, I don't. I'm falling apart at the seams. I'm losing my bloody mind every day.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm like a go, go, go kind of person anyways. So if I'm sitting still, I'm usually wondering what I should be doing instead.
Yeah.
And I've sort of resolved myself to the fact that there will be time in my life where I can sit and rest and drink a full cup of tea, but that it is not now. It's not now.
I always think that I'll have time when I'm dead.
Yeah. For sure. That's probably when I'll drink my tea. Yeah. That's when I'll see the bottom of the teacup. Absolutely.
It's like I'll sleep when I'm dead.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know, man. Like, don't you, like, at the end of the day, your kids are older, so you're not tucking them into bed anymore. But after I walk my kids down the hallway for the 14th fucking time and tell them to go to sleep, please. Please go to sleep. Mommy needs you to go to sleep. Yeah. I don't know. I look at them laying there and I think that there isn't anything I wouldn't do for them. And that includes burnout.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know,
there's nothing I wouldn't do for them. So. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Watching that kid like make an amazing save and the entire, stand lose their mind and he gets a windmill in it. Like that is fine. I just walk around there with my ego is so fucking big I can't even fit through the doors at the arena. And like I'm like, yeah, that's my kid. That was my kid. Yeah, my kid.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
My kid.
Yeah, that was an amazing like I made friends with some lady from South Delta at a tournament simply because I overheard her talking about a save that my son made and I was like beelined for her and I was like, "Oh, that was my kid. That was my kid."
Oh, just that was mine. Yeah.
Yes, just so we're aware. I am not the parent of that child. Yeah.
I just wanted you to know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the driving force behind everything is that car ride home when they've got the medal around their neck and they're just feeling so good, or they're running around the BC ferries and they're you're getting that like that loudspeaker come on being like, "With the parents of such and such a team, please tell your kids to stop running around," and you're like, dude, they just won the gold medal at the U11 tournament. Like, come on,
a big deal.
Yeah, like you don't understand what recess is going to look like on Monday. Like, come on, know your role, buddy. Just drive the boat.
Chain.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I live for that. So, yeah. Again, I'll sleep when I'm dead.
What has been the biggest hurdle or hang up you feel you've had to get through or get past in order to be so open on your social media platforms?
The fact that I
aspire to be like that, but I know.
So I wish I could say it was like a conscious effort to be open, but literally it's like a lack of like emotional regulation, I think. Like I have no filter and I never have. Also, I've never had a filter, so why didn't somebody figure out I had ADHD years ago? But I can't stop. Like, the thoughts are here, and then they're out here, and then I'm like, oh shit, should I have said that? Like, one of the biggest things for me is when a video of mine goes viral and I say something in it and I didn't mean it the way I said it. And if you follow me, you know me and you know that I didn't mean that. But if you're hearing me for the first time, you're like, that woman's a bitch. Like, I recently had like this video where I talked about thrifting, and I talked about how I never find anything at thrift stores, and I think that everything there is like garbage. Like, I don't find anything of value. That turned into me being classist and thinking that people who bought things from the thrift store were like shitty people, and like the internet took that and ran with it and made me see
awful.
They were horrific. Like, somebody literally told me that they knew where I lived and I better be scared because of the fact that I said stuff was like that I found stuff to be junk at the thrift store. And the irony to me in that was that the next day I then watched a video of somebody making a joke about how they were in the downtown Victoria Goodwill and they found a piece of bark on the shelf and they were laughing that it was on sale for $5. And I was like, that's literally what I was trying to say, but obviously it didn't come across that way. My words got messed. I talk like a million miles an hour. Like, obviously, there's not a lot of filtering what I'm saying going on. And if you know me, you know that my intention was never to insult anyone. Yeah. It was just me simply trying to explain that, like, I'm a bad thrifter. But it doesn't always come across that way. So something that I'm learning is to be careful. And the other thing is, like, I've talked to other content creators on social media, and they'll be like, when you post a video, watch. And if the video takes off and all of a sudden the comments are not looking great, then delete it. But my problem is I'm so fucking busy that I'm posting a video, like, while I'm taking a shit because I've got to go pick my kids up from school, and then I've got to, like, clean the kitchen after that. And so, like, I'm not sitting there looking at the video after. Like, I look at it 6 hours later and I'm like, oh, damn, like, that didn't hit. Like, that's not what I wanted. And then, like, I'm not very good at this. That's my that's my problem is everybody loves that I'm real, but the fact is I don't have a team. No one's helping me. I'm literally doing this like off the cuff and I don't know what I'm doing. So if you want real, you got to take all the real. You got to take it, the good, the bad. And so I would say that has been my biggest struggle is trying to remember that the internet is not full of like normal, regular, compassionate people. I mean, it is full of them, but there is a small percentage of lunatics out there that think that their voice is important and they will share it with you all the time. So that's been my biggest struggle.
Yeah, there's always a person that it doesn't matter what you say, they will always find something negative to make a comment on. So really, you can't please everyone and like just embrace it, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. Jealousy's a bitch.
Yeah. So am I. But I try to be nice about it. You know? Yeah. Yeah, I have no filter also. I probably have ADHD. I'm not planning on getting tested for it.
No. Well, when I finally like spoke about it on the internet one day,
I saw
somebody messaged and they were like, oh, honey, I thought you knew. And I was like, no, I didn't know that. I had no idea. Here I was just thinking that I'm like spunky. Like, nope.
I'm assuming I do. And I'm medicated for anxiety anyway. So I'm sure, and I'm coping just fine.
Yeah.
I'm doing great, so I'm not that worried about it.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
If it were a problem, I think I'd do something about it differently. But I feel like I'm managing quite well. But I am also in my 40s, and I don't give a fuck. So it's a
beautiful time.
It is a beautiful time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you wish you knew before you started your hockey mom journey? And what advice would you have for new hockey family?
What advice do I wish I knew before? I guess I wish I knew how all-encompassing hockey was. Not that I would change it, but I didn't know it would be like this. Like, my front yard looks like I purposely grow dandelions. Like, I'm a dandelion farmer. And I was not prepared for like the lack of energy or time that I would have to commit to anything else because of hockey. So I wouldn't have made my garden bed so big. I wouldn't have like thought I would have time on Saturdays to do anything else. Like it's very all encompassing, especially when your kid plays like a higher level. Like I understand now why parents are like, no, I'll never let my kid play rep. Like we're staying at the house level. That actually does make sense. For us, we have gained so much from hockey because of my son's struggles sort of academically and like socially with school. He had like a period of time that was really hard for him, and during that period of time he started really excelling at hockey. And so we recognized how impactful hockey was on his life, and then because of that on our lives and how positive an influence hockey was for him. And so we dove headfirst knowing that it would be a lot, but not recognizing how much it would be. But I wouldn't change it for the world. Like I would do this all over again, pretty much the same way. I would be as involved as we are in hockey because of what it's given him, and the little person that it is creating is just amazing. And I love it so much. I love seeing his growth and his development as a little human being. But I just had no idea how much it was going to take up our lives. Like all the memes are true. Like all of them
so
about being at the rink all the time. They're so true. Yeah.
I think that's why we all love them so much. Because like you look at them and you're like,
relate. It's
that.
real. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then I guess sort of like advice that I would give, specifically advice for goalie parents. I would say make sure you focus on skating, especially U7, U9, even U11. My son takes, again, second year U13, and he still takes skating lessons. He does it in full gear because it is incredibly important, especially if you have a kid that loves playing goal. They jump in the net and then they lose out all of that practice skating that the other kids are getting. And in reality, your goalie should be the best skater on your team. They need to have all that edge work done. They need to be confident in a small space. They need to be really strong on their skates. And I think we jump into trying to develop them into good goalies right away, and we forget that we need to make them good skaters first. So especially for parents who are looking at the cost of goalie development and being like, I can't afford $500 for 2 hours worth of goalie development. Like, that's insane. Yes, it is. You're correct. Put them in skating lessons instead. And then save up for the goalie development, because you will never go wrong with skating lessons. The more your kid skates, the better they'll be able to navigate the crease, and then the skill around crease work will come if they're a good skater. So it's something I hound into my parents, and it's something that they don't always take so well. They don't understand, like, why? Well, I want him to become a better goalie. Like, I got to get him, the goalie development. And you do, and there'll be plenty of time for that. But making them the best skater you can possibly make them early on will do wonders for them. So that's my biggest piece of advice. Skating. Like, practice all the skating. Don't worry, the goalie skills will come. They'll pick it up, but skating. And then also other sports. So really, really important. Basketball, baseball, like all the other sports, make sure that they're playing something else, because the skills that they'll develop in those other sports will help them in hockey for sure. My son has done a bunch of different sports over the years. He's never found anything he loves as much as hockey. So he tends to jump from one thing to another. But I will say the skills that he's picked up playing those other sports have only improved his hockey playing skills.
That's awesome. That's good advice. Thank you. If you could talk to any athlete in any sport, who would you choose? Or would you rather speak to their mom, and why?
Yeah, 100%. I want to talk to the moms. I want to know how they handle sending their whole heart out onto the ice, just waiting for somebody to crush it. Like, I remember just recently watching the Canada-US game, and they panned to the goalie mom, and I was just like, I know exactly how she was feeling. Like, all those feelings, I know those feelings, like, so much. And you just, I don't know, it's the first thing I do whenever we join a team, is if there's a new goalie on the team, is like, go make friends with that other goalie mom, because as much as my player needs that support from the other goalie, I need that support from the goalie mom. And it's so nice when you get a goalie mom that's not competitive, and it's not like, oh, my kid's not on the, like, sometimes that happens. We've been really lucky that I haven't experienced it very often, but like connecting with the other moms, like the whole theme of this conversation has been real, right? Like knowing that somebody else knows how you feel and can commiserate with you and can validate your feelings. That's such a good feeling when someone else is like, yeah, no, I feel like that too.
Absolutely.
So,
having the support from the community is huge, like for the kids, for the parents, everyone. And especially when the goalie does feel like a solo player on there. They don't have three lines of their own, of their position to fall back on, right? Like it is nice. And they do end up making friends more with defense and stuff, which is awesome, because they're or they end up hating those defense that don't protect them. It's a love-hate relationship. But it's nice to have that support and someone that knows what you're going through, because it is a completely different ball game. So I've definitely seen like a community of goalie moms from all different associations that just all know each other, and they all like kind of communicate together. And I think that's like another community within a community. And I think that's great, because utilizing those resources is really good for you. So
totally. Yeah. I would want to meet, I guess the one hockey mom that I would want to meet is actually Jacques Laplante. He's the first goalie that ever wore a face mask.
Okay.
And he got a lot of ridicule for that. that because he
Yeah.
decided to wear a face mask, and he just decided to do it anyway. So I guess I would want to meet that mom and find out how she raised a child that was that confident that he grew into a young man that would do something like that when he was being told not to. So yeah, there you go.
Good for him. That's great. I like that. Good to know. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited that you came on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, that's it for this week, Hockey Fam. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in today, and we appreciate you listening. Catch us next week for another mix of hockey tales, tricks, and/or tips.